Good evening, I'm Tucker Carlson. Tonight, we're going to talk about something that's being whispered in the shadows of Washington and denied in Beijing. A story so explosive that both governments want it buried. Leaked intelligence documents now claim that the United States has been conducting covert black ops operations inside China, using assets, contractors, and even tech companies as cover. If that's true, we're looking at one of the most dangerous revelations in modern history, because this isn't just about espionage, it's about power, secrecy, the future of world order. The first thing people noticed about this leak was how coordinated, deliberate, and detailed it was. Not the kind of random dump we've seen from hackers before. This was surgical. The documents weren't vague, they named locations, operations, even chain of command structures that point straight toward U.S. involvement in covert sabotage deep inside China's critical infrastructure. Power facilities, data exchange nodes, undersea communication cables, all mapped out. Whoever released this wasn't after money or fame, they wanted exposure. And that's what makes Washington so nervous, because if what's in these files is even halfway true, it's not just an intelligence scandal, it's proof that America has been running an undeclared shadow war on one of the world's largest superpowers. That's not speculation. That's what the leaked intel itself shows. Timestamps, encrypted communications, mission logs, contractor billing trails, even drone footage allegedly linked to these operations. The language is cold-coded and unmistakably official. Someone with clearance wanted the public to see it. Someone with access wanted to pull the curtain back. And you can tell the government knows it's serious. Within hours of the leak, agencies went into digital lockdown. Classified servers were isolated, internal memos or to total information freeze. Then came the public statement, fabricated documents, foreign disinformation. Sure, they said the same thing when the Pentagon Papers came out. They said it when Snowden exposed mass surveillance. Every time the truth sneaks out, the same script plays: deny, discredit, delay. But this time feels different, because this time the documents weren't dumped by a random outsider. They came from inside the machine. Analysts have traced the metadata to a federal node, meaning the whistleblower wasn't a hacker. It was someone on the payroll, a patriot or a traitor, depending on who you ask. And that's the part no one wants to talk about. When insiders start leaking national secrets, it's not because they hate their country. It's because they've lost faith in the people running it. The deeper analysts dig, the clearer it gets. This wasn't an accidental exposure. The formatting, the encryption, even the order of the leaks were methodical, suggesting coordination. The pattern mirrors earlier insider leaks from defense contractors who saw things they couldn't morally justify. Maybe this is another Edward Snowden moment, or maybe something even bigger. Because these files don't just describe surveillance or cyber intrusion, they describe direct interference, physical black ops actions on foreign soil. That's not espionage, that's provocation. The person who leaked it knew exactly what they were doing, forcing the world to confront what's been happening behind closed doors. So ask yourself, if this whistleblower risked everything to expose a lie, what does that say about the system they worked for? How deep does the rot go when people on the inside no longer believe in the mission? The establishment will call them a criminal, but history calls people like that something else. The only reason we ever learn the truth. And the truth here is explosive. The U.S. might already be fighting a war it hasn't admitted to, one waged not with armies, but with silence, servers, and secrets buried deep inside encrypted files. When China got word of these leaks, the reaction was immediate and furious. Beijing didn't wait for confirmation. It summoned the U.S. ambassador, issued an official warning, accused Washington of state-sponsored sabotage. Think about that, one nuclear-armed superpower publicly accusing another of covert warfare, not economic sanctions, not trade disputes, sabotage. Within hours, Chinese state media began airing footage of military convoys, satellite images of foreign interference zones, and expert panels suggesting America was attempting to destabilize China's internal networks. Whether that's propaganda or panic depends on your point of view. But one thing is certain, the leak hit a nerve. This wasn't just another cyber spat. This was an open diplomatic firestorm with both sides pretending they're calm while quietly mobilizing for what could come next. And here's what's really unsettling. No one in Washington seems surprised. It's as if they expected this. The State Department's talking points were pre-written. The Pentagon's denial was scripted. And the president's response? We do not comment on intelligence matters. That line again. Always that line. You know what it really means. It means the story is true, but too dangerous to acknowledge. And the irony is, the more they deny, the more Beijing believes. This isn't about face saving anymore. It's about global credibility. China has spent years accusing the U.S. of interfering in its domestic affairs, from Hong Kong to Taiwan, and now it has what looks like proof on paper. Suddenly, America's lectures about sovereignty sound hollow. Washington's image as the defender of democracy just took another hit. This time, it's not Russia or Iran doing the damage. It's its own intelligence files. Now think about the global consequences. Every ally, every intelligence partner is watching closely. If America is willing to run cover ops in China, what stops it from doing the same elsewhere? Maybe in Europe, maybe in the Middle East. Trust begins to evaporate. Leaky documents can destroy decades of diplomacy faster than bombs ever could. And that's what's happening right now. Nations that once quietly cooperated with Washington are suddenly calculating the cost of association. Because if the U.S. is capable of black operations on Chinese soil, who's to say they haven't done it in friendly nations too? Remember, intelligence agencies don't have allies, they have interests. And the world is beginning to realize that. Here's the dark truth. The global order we thought was stable is cracking. Every country that depended on America's word is rethinking its alliances. Beijing is leveraging this chaos brilliantly. It's already calling for a UN investigation, portraying itself as the victim of Western aggression, using the scandal to rally developing nations behind it. Meanwhile, Washington's silence only fuels suspicion. The world doesn't trust explanations anymore. It trusts evidence. The evidence, the leaked files, the encrypted chains, the intercepted transmissions, all point to one chilling conclusion. The line between espionage and aggression has disappeared. What we're witnessing isn't diplomacy, it's information warfare wrapped in denial and secrecy. And as always, the truth leaks out, not because the powerful allow it, but because somewhere someone refuses to stay silent. So what exactly was in those files that rattled Beijing and sent Washington scrambling? Sources claim the leaked intel revealed a network of covert cyber and human operations inside mainland China, not just monitoring, but manipulating digital infrastructure. We're talking about hacking into communication grids, planting false signals in satellite data, and reportedly influencing industrial systems under the guise of cybersecurity research. Let that sink in. The same America that lectures the world about transparency and fair play was allegedly running shadow programs deep in the world's most surveilled nation. The official narrative says these programs were defensive countermeasures. That's bureaucratic language for plausible deniability. But when you look at the language in those files, embedded disruption, infrastructure interference, remote signal redirection, you're not reading about defense. You're reading about a digital invasion. Here's where it gets worse. These so-called operations weren't new. Some date back nearly a decade, spanning both Republican and Democratic administrations. So no one in Washington can pretend this is a rogue mission or a policy oversight. This was systemic, deliberate, and bipartisan. Both parties knew. Both funded it. And both lied about it, which raises a question no one in the mainstream media dares to ask. How much of our modern diplomacy is built on deception? We say we're spreading democracy, but what if we're spreading control? The leaked data suggests that a part of America's foreign intelligence strategy wasn't just about defense. It was about leverage, the power to flip switches, shut down systems, manipulate outcomes when diplomacy didn't deliver results. That's not partnership. That's dominance dressed up as security. But dominance always comes with a cost. The revelation of these black ops isn't just a scandal. It's a geopolitical earthquake. It undermines every moral argument America has made against its rivals. How do you criticize China for surveillance when you're doing the same and worse? in their own backyard. How do you claim to protect global order when you secretly destabilize it? This isn't about patriotism or national interest anymore. It's about hypocrisy. And hypocrisy erodes credibility faster than any enemy propaganda ever could. That's why Beijing's outrage resonates globally, because everyone has seen this movie before. They just didn't expect the mask to slip this far. And then there's the domestic fallout. Americans are waking up to the realization that their government operates in total secrecy, conducting actions that could trigger a war without public consent, without congressional debate, without even the pretense of accountability. Think about that for a moment. Elected officials sworn to serve the people, authorizing missions that could drag the nation into conflict, and the people don't even get to know. When the founders warned about unchecked power, this is exactly what they meant. Covert wars waged in the shadows, justified by national security, and hidden under layers of classified lies. It's not about keeping the country safe. It's about keeping the truth out of reach. And that's why this leak matters. It's not just a story about China. It's a story about how far our government will go and how little it thinks we deserve to know. The reaction around the world has been as revealing as the leak itself. You can tell a lot about a country by how it responds when the mask slips. Russia called it predictable, which is diplomatic code for "we told you so." European leaders, always walking the tightrope between loyalty and independence, issued cautious statements about needing clarification. Translation, they're furious, but they don't want to admit it publicly. Meanwhile, allies in Asia, Japan, South Korea, the Philippines suddenly look uneasy, because if Washington can run black ops in China, what's to say similar operations aren't running closer to home? Trust, once broken, doesn't repair easily. For decades, America has claimed to be the guardian of stability, the defender of global order. But what kind of order survives when even your friends start to suspect you? This is how empires erode.